Okay. So, for those who don't know, I am a director. Theater, primarily. But I've dabbled in filmmaking. Nothing amazing or anything like that. But, I like to think that I have an above average knowledge of the art of directing, with an emphasis on theater, but also I am knowledgeable in film directing as well. And one of the key things that I believe, one of the cornerstones of my entire theatrical philosophy, is that the study of a specific artist will give you insight into that person's worldview. I tell it to my students all the time. The study of art is the study of culture. And the studying of different artists in different periods, in different genres and styles, is the best way to understand how that artist interpreted their existence, interpreted the world around them. And I believe that as an artist myself, it's something I always strive to do in the work that I create. Even this form of expression, I believe that to be true. And since I've been to grad school and I've learned more, one of the things I'm very, very, very conscious of as I view more and more artistic expression, especially since I started doing these reviews, is when you look at the work of specific directors, what defines that style? What defines that person? And you can say a lot about Michael Bay. You can say a lot about Michael Bay. We're going to say a lot about Michael Bay. But there is one thing you can say without any question, is that the man has a style. A very distinctive style. You know a Michael Bay movie when you're watching it. You don't need the name at the front to tell you. Even those Ninja Turtle movies, which he didn't direct, but he creatively had his fingers in, it had his style all over it. But the question now becomes is, what does that style tell us about the man himself? What does his choices tell us about him and his worldview? And I believe finally, after watching this movie, I can answer that question better than maybe I ever could in the past. I believe that Michael Bay, there are two options. Number one, he is severely overcompensating for something. What that is, I will not hazard a guess. But he feels less of a man. And I don't just mean that, in the gender-specific element. I mean, he feels like he is less. Maybe he feels like he's less of a director, less of a person, whatever. But he is frightfully insecure. That is something that I truly believe, having watched this film and having sampled some of his other movies. The other thing, I think he's on crack. He's definitely editing this movie on crack. He is, he's on something when he's editing these films, because there's a lot. As a matter of fact, I think I have obtained footage in my journey as a film journalist. I have obtained footage of Michael Bay preparing to edit this movie. Let's take a look. Here we go.
Oh God, there is no fucking drummer better than Neil Peart.
Okay, you can't tell me that's far off. Oh my fucking God. All right, let's get into this, because there is so much to talk about. That's why I love movies like this, because they give you stuff to talk about. Nothing's worse than walking out of a movie and having nothing to say because it left no impression. No, this leaves an impression. Before I get into everything, let's make sure we understand the premise. So we have two brothers, Dumbass 1 and Dumbass 2, who Dumbass 1 is a, play along if you know the Michael Bay bingo, is a former military man, the greatest military man who ever lived, a hero, a great human being, G.I. Joe. And he is back from the war, but of course, his wife is sick with some unknown disease that she needs an experimental surgery to correct. So I don't know what that's supposed to be. And no one's giving him money, and the only place he can go get money is with his brother, dumbass number 2, who, in the span of like two conversations, immediately convinces him to go on a high-end bank robbery. Things go about as well as you expect, and the two end up in an ambulance with a cop they shot and an EMT whom they have now taken hostage, and they are tearing ass around Los Angeles while every cop in the fucking city is chasing after them. I can only imagine this must have been the highest crime day in LA history, because you could commit any crime you want while this is going, because they've got every fucking cop in the city chasing these two morons. So there's the basic premise. So let's get back to what I was originally discussing, the theory of Michael Bay's editing preferences. Oh my fucking God, this movie is... I am so glad I did not see this in the theater. I watched this on demand, in my home, and I prefer going to the movie theaters. I want to support movie theaters. I think we should support movie theaters. But I'm glad I didn't go see this in the film, in the theater, on the big screen, because I'm pretty sure it would have made me motion sick. I felt less motion sick after seeing the original Doctor Strange in the theater, for fuck's sake. Because the camera is constantly moving. There is nary a time when that camera is not swooping, spinning, twirling towards freedom. It is all over the fucking place. It's here, it's there, it's coming up on somebody, it's moving away from them, it's swooping up over the city, sliding down the fucking building and catching them as they're coming out the door. In the scene where dumbass number 1 and dumbass number 2 are talking for the first time, and dumbass number 2 is convincing dumbass number 1 to come with him on this heist, they're having a heated argument in the guy's chop shop, and the camera is spinning around them. And this is after the camera has already been moving like a fucking Roomba. It's like, Mike, you can hold the camera still for a little bit. You don't have to have high-octane movement in every fucking nanosecond of the movie. Sometimes it's okay to just let the film breathe, okay? Fucking calm down a bit, brother. But no, it is bad. Like, it is, oh my God, I had to pause the film so many times because I was getting dizzy. And the fucking editing, the rapid cuts, I hear people give shit to the Marvel movies because they always say there's too many cuts and fast cuts in the fight scenes and nobody can tell what's going on. I have never had that problem. I've never had that problem viewing a Marvel film. I can always track what's going on. I think the action films are really well shot. My opinion. But here, holy shit, there is a time in the opening shootout when everything goes up, I can't tell who the fuck's shooting at who. I don't know where anybody is. I don't know where anybody is in relation to anybody. I don't know who's shooting at who. I don't know who half the fucking characters are. I played a game with myself for one scene. I took a scene, just one of the random scenes when they're in the back of the ambulance, and I decided to count how long he let the camera linger on one specific shot. Set it up. How long was it just pointed at one person? The longest I got was 5 seconds. That's it. And I understand it's in a high action sequence, so you're cutting back and forth. But I mean, it wasn't just the cutting back and forth. We cut here. We cut over there to this person. We're down low. We're up high. We're to the side. We're over here. Fucking A, dude. Calm down. And as I mentioned in my rather overlong opening, is that, again, you can tell a Michael Bay movie when you see it. That's part of his visual style. You know what the other part of his visual style is, and I mentioned this in the Bad Guys review, is this not just warm tones, but overly hot tones. The sun is reflecting on everything. Harsh oranges and reds, and everybody in his movies always looks so fucking sticky. Even before shit starts. He loves people sweating. Loves it. Loves people looking sweaty and uncomfortable. That is his jam. And boy howdy, does this movie deliver on that. Now, here's the thing though. I can't get mad at any of that. Despite my tone, despite everything, I can't get mad at any of that. And you know why I can't get mad at any of that? Because it's a fucking Michael Bay movie. It's a fucking Michael Bay movie. You know, getting mad at that stuff in a fucking Michael Bay movie is like walking into a baseball stadium and being pissed off because no one's playing hockey. You knew what you were getting into. It's a Michael Bay movie. It's exactly what's advertised on the box. Okay? So you can't really get mad at that stuff. The other shit you can get mad at, because that just makes the movie stupid. All right, let's run down some of this. So let's go back to Dumbass number 1 and Dumbass number 2. Now, one of the major problems with this film is that these two characters, our main characters, neither one of them are sympathetic. You're supposed to be rooting for Dumbass number 1 because he's the wonderful military man with the sick wife and the cute kid, and maybe you're supposed to feel a little bad for Dumbass number 2, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. You don't. Neither one of them are good people. I don't care what the movie tries to make you think. They're idiots. I mean, okay, they make a big deal of Dumbass number 1 being a great driver. They drop that clue very early on in the film before he goes and sees his brother. And so you're thinking, okay, he's going to get talked into being the driver. I can make that leap. I can suspend my disbelief that much. Say, okay, I can see how you could convince yourself of, I'm just driving the car. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm just going to drive them to and from. I can see how you could make that moral justification to yourself. He's not the driver. He's a fucking trigger man. He's in there with the fucking automatic, holding it on innocent people. Because of these two fucking morons, how many innocent people got killed in this movie? A shit ton. A shit ton, I can tell you that. And we're still supposed to go, oh, but he was doing it for such noble reasons. Fuck him. And let's talk about this bank robbery for a second. So first of all, you know why I'm calling them Dumbass number 1 and Dumbass number 2? Well, I've explained Dumbass number 1. Let's talk about Dumbass number 2, Jake Gyllenhaal. Let's talk about his character for a second. So first of all, you are planning this massive bank robbery. And on the day of, you enlist your brother. You don't even go to him. He comes to you. What were you going to do if he didn't show up? So you bring him in. He hasn't gone over the plan. He's winging it. Is that really what you want to fucking do on this high-end bank heist? Also, during this bank heist, not one of these guys is wearing a mask. I take that back. 2 of them are wearing masks, but they keep pulling them down with the security cameras everywhere. The crew is calling each other by their first names. How did you think you were going to get away with this? How? There was no way you were making it, even if everything had gone perfectly smooth. You're not getting away with this. They've seen your fucking face. They know who you are. You're not getting away with this. Now, Dumbass number 2, Jake Gyllenhaal, you can forgive for that because he's kind of psycho. But Dumbass number 1, you're not going home to your wife and kid, dude. They've seen your fucking face. You're going to jail. They're not going to have a hard time proving it, even if everything had gone perfectly. And then, you know, the inciting incident of all this is when robbing the bank, a young rookie cop comes up because he's, you know, horny for one of the women inside the bank, which kudos to Michael Bay on this one. He reeled back some of his less desirable tendencies and didn't shoot all of the women in this film like, you know, sex stalls, you know, just there to satisfy the male desire. Even this woman is dressed conservatively and shot fine. So, you know, or filmed fine, I should say. So I'll give him credit for that. So there you go. So the cop knocks on the door. Jake Gyllenhaal opens it, And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, we're doing a transfer. And he's like, oh, but please, I really gotta get in there. Jake Gyllenhaal was like, oh, okay. This all could have been avoided if you just said, sorry, sir, bank policy. We will reopen in 1 hour. We have to do this with everything locked down. Sorry, come. No, he lets the cop in. Why? Why would you do this? Stupid! Fucking stupid!
Stupid! You're so stupid!
And yeah, again, neither one of these characters is sympathetic. I didn't give a shit about it. There were moments in time watching this where I'm like, who am I supposed to be rooting for here? Am I supposed to be rooting for the cops to catch them, or am I supposed to be rooting for them to get away? Because I don't know who the film wants me, whose side I'm supposed to be on here. So, there you go. Now, let's be fair. Let's be fair about this, because there actually are some decent things about this movie. So, first of all, I think the premise is actually pretty good. The idea of, trying to make a getaway in the least, the least practical getaway vehicle in the world, and having the majority of the movie take place in there, that was really good. There is an excellent scene, a bit gory for my taste, very graphic, but I liked the scene anyway, where the cop who is injured is hemorrhaging, and the EMT, she calls her ex-boyfriend, who in turn calls 2 trauma surgeons, and they're talking her through basic, battlefield surgery on this guy. It was a really well done scene. I give the film a lot of credit. The other thing I have to give this film a lot of credit for is the chase scene. As much mileage as you can get out of a full movie long chase scene. The chase scene is actually pretty good, shot fairly well, and I got to give them a lot of credit for what I believe was almost a complete reliance on practical effects. If they used CGI for anything except the really stupid, frantic over-the-head shots of the buildings, then I didn't notice it. So I really give them credit. That's a lot of practical effects they had to do, and I always prefer practical over CGI myself. So I give them credit. There's also this one really cute scene where the brothers are trying to calm down, so they put their earbuds in, and they're listening to some relaxing music, and they're singing along, and it kind of cuts back and forth between them singing to the music and the EMT in the back just kind of hearing them singing alone, and it's a really funny kind of moment. Them in their world and her and hers. It really does play off each other well. It's like that scene in Free Guy when Ryan Reynolds is kissing the avatar of that woman, and for him it's the most passionate moment of his life, and for her she's just watching it on a screen. She has no connection to it. So yeah, I dug that moment. But here's my final thought. Here's my big question about this, because why has no one let Michael Bay direct a video game movie? Because it seems like that's his bailiwick. And the reason I bring this up is because you know what this movie is? What this movie essentially is? This is Grand Theft Auto. That is exactly what this fucking movie is. It is Grand Theft Auto, the movie. Like, everything from a bank heist to the bank heist goes wrong to it starts out as a simple car chase with you and maybe one cop, and the longer it goes and the more people you run over, the more non-playable characters join, and suddenly it's escalated into this huge thing with fucking gangsters in lowriders with Predator fucking guns going. I mean, it's skeezy to look at. The characters are ugly and unlikable. And so yeah, it's Grand Theft Auto. Oh, and Jake Gyllenhaal. Oh my God. Okay, you know what? He's not quite up to Pine Time in terms of lack of charisma, but he's up there. All right, he is the wrong person for this role. Jake Gyllenhaal is nowhere near charismatic or likable enough to pull off this psycho yet goofy persona. It doesn't work on him. It doesn't come off right. It just doesn't. And I love how he does, a little shout out to OSW Reviews here. He does the Samoa Joe interview where to show how psycho he is, he's talking and he's, going, and then I'm going to shout my line. And then I'm going to go quiet, and then I'm going to shout again. Okay, let's wrap this up. Because the problem I'm having is, like, I don't know if you can actually hate this movie. It seems like too easy to hate this movie because it's a fucking goddamn Michael Bay movie. You knew what you were getting into. If you expected anything more, where have you been the last decade? Seriously. So, is this a bad movie? Yeah. Was I kind of entertained? Sorta. I can't say I was bored by it, but I can't say I ever connected with it either. In terms of just shut off your brain action films, I guess it's okay. But, I mean, there's better options out there, guys. So, I guess the only thing we can say is let's just do this. Final grade for Ambulance. I'm going to C-, and I think I'm being generous. I'm giving it slack because, again, it's Michael Bay. I mean, this is what you come to expect. It's like going to an M. Night Shyamalan movie and expecting something good. It's not going to happen. You gotta grade these things on a curve. So I think I'm being generous with this C-, and this may end up on the worst list of the year. I don't know yet, but and I know my credibility may be shot with something like this because I really love the hurricane heist. But what I liked about the hurricane heist is it was goofy. And it didn't take itself too seriously. It was not trying to be anything more than what it was. And in that respect, I really love it. This one does not get that pass. So C- for this. It's all I got. I think you can skip it unless this kind of film is really what you enjoy. So, if so, enjoy. All right? Have fun. So that's it. That is it for this episode of Drive Home Reviews. Thank you very much for joining me. And as always, drive safe, please. And I will see you at the movies.